validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt up on the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher constantly, making my own climb. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. Whoa, I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield.
How y'all doing, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we're talking about this, that, and everything in between. I'm over here playing around with these buttons, and I don't like the way that one look. I'm going to put this button over here. It's in the way. Hold on, let me put this other button over here. Here, there we go. Now, boom, boom. I can't even see that button. Oh, it says like. All right. They gave us some nifty buttons. That's not the reason why I was late, though. No, I didn't have the script for today's show, and I was like, dang. I thought I had it. I put like 80 scripts up there, but I didn't have today's scripts. So I was like, shit, I gotta do the script. I was late. It's always something. But look, I drafted a 40-page document right before I did a 61-page script for y'all. So in all fairness, I did more work today than most college students do for their exams. So their dissertations or whatever. Either way, like I tell you guys on a regular basis, I do not let the sun rise without going live. And that's why we ask you guys to like and subscribe, because we're not always here on time. So we ask you guys to hit that like button, subscribe button, hit those notification buttons on all the shows. Monday has not gone up there, so it will go up there, and it should go up there, I want to say, between tonight and tomorrow, because I just found out. So one of the reasons why Monday show didn't go up there yet, there was a lot of chatter in politics. After we finished with the third term situation, and I wasn't sure exactly what all relevant to discuss, because we have the change of behavior of the other countries that are now in support of Donald Trump in the Strait. Then we have Donald Trump going to China and the difference in Donald Trump's behavior patterns, where he went from being outspoken and disrespectful in America to being very quiet and conformative in China. And I was like, I don't know, I could probably pull all that stuff together. Um, but I hadn't figured out how to do it. So I didn't get the title together. I don't have the thumbnail, so I didn't put it up there. Oh, look, see, special shout out to Steven. He said, and get that membership. Best investment that I made, and it is well worth it. Especially the cheapest membership is like $3 a month. So you are definitely getting a good deal for 30 days. That's like $1, not even. What is it? It's like $1 every 10 days. How do you do that calculation? That's a few cents a day for the type of information that you get from a financial advisor for like $350 to $400 an hour. He can't beat that. Speaking of the membership, I haven't gotten to it yet because I got so many things that's happening, but I did tell y'all throughout this weekend that I was going to start throwing some stuff in. Tomorrow being Saturday, that's going to be the day. Maybe even tonight, right after the show, you'll start seeing things dropping out. I might schedule it 2 or 3 things a day every day to just start catching up on all the stuff. But you got like 30 different documents that's supposed to hit. Special shout out to Africa that is supposed to hit over the next 30 days, where you're likely going to see 30 days worth of new information, which means that you're going to have 60 documents come out over the next 30 days. That's just what I got to do to get things done. I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. I put a lot of pressure on myself before I do anything else because I want to make sure that I provide you guys with all the information that y'all need to be successful. Be that as it may, we have different shows every night of the week. Sundays, questions and comments from the fans. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesdays, business and politics. Monday, we talk about how politics negatively impacts your ability to make, save, and invest money. Tuesday, we talk about ways to make money, save money, invest money, budget money, how money impacts your life, like how do we change the way you think, which actually changes the way you spend, which actually puts more money in your pocket. Then Wednesdays, we talk about different countries around the world for you to invest and live in. And then Thursday, today's Friday and Saturday, we talk about social improvement, personal development, self-development, relationship topics, negotiations, socializations, building your brand, raises, promotions, retirement, severance packages, like all of the things that you need to be successful in your personal life as well as in your professional life. And then we talk to you guys about your 20 and 30-year plan, because if you start getting your shit together today, if you're still living in 25 years, in the next 15 to 20, you're going to be like, yeah, I love the way things are right now. You know what I mean? But if you continue to live paycheck to paycheck, day to day, moment to moment, as life sucks today is as life will suck in a few years, because you're not doing, and if anything, it's going to get worse because the cost of living is going to continue to go up, but your effort in improving your ability to make money is not going up with it. So you are falling behind with the inflation of life. So that's a completely different opportunity cost that you guys have to pay attention to. That's a completely different dynamic that you guys are not focused on. So if you're not paying attention to your future, where you're creeping up to your future, they say that today's a present, but let's be real. Today is over. Today is the past. Moment by moment, you have already lived the moment. Okay. Tomorrow is what you're paying attention to, because tomorrow is Saturday. And if Saturday is going to suck because today you're not ready, tomorrow's going to suck. If Monday you got shit to do that you didn't do this week because you didn't do it this week, that means that Monday is going to be harder than what it could have been. If the things that you could have done this week were done last week, this week would be less stressful. Just like all this week, I've had, up until today, I've had every script ready 2 weeks in advance. Why? So that I could have more time to do the other things that had me late for the show. This is why I tell you guys to be prepared. Now, after all of this stuff goes down, I did tell you guys Sunday's questions and comments from the fans. So after we finish doing everything, it brings us back to Sunday. Now, today we're supposed to be talking about that lonely girl experience and how internalized misogyny and misandry actually negatively impact people's ability to perform. Is that your retirement is tomorrow? You're broke. Hi, welcome to mall. It's not even just Walmart, bro. You got Walmart, Lowe's, Home Depot, all them old folks standing by the door. They just standing there watching you, checking your receipt, because they can't do shit else because they too old to do. They supposed to be at their house in a rocking chair, smoking blunts, watching the sunset, sipping that scissor. But instead, They got on a full-on uniform, ugly ass, blue ass, bright ass vest with this big ass sun that is not shining on them, and they got to come and kiss your ass on your way in and on your way out the damn grocery store because they did not prepare their future. I don't want y'all to have that lifestyle. I want y'all to have the kind of lifestyle where y'all can be like, "Hey, I get there when I get there." You know, even though I could really treat this podcast that way, I have a personal ethic and a personal morale that makes me feel bad about the fact that I didn't do it when I said I would. Not because I didn't do it on time, but because I said I was going to be here at a certain time and I didn't do it. That's a personal ego thing. But for all honesty, I can just start this bitch whenever I feel like it. Because I'm not bound to this. My employer is not going to contact me and say, "Man, you didn't start the podcast on time. Your ass is fired." I'm not going to have to deal with that. I'm not going to have one of those Vince McMahon moments. I'm not going to have one of those Shark Tank moments. I'm not going to have to be sitting in a corner somewhere with my employer yelling at me so loud that my coworkers is laughing at me because I didn't do what my boss said do. Because I work for myself. That's what happens. I work for myself. And I try to get you guys to do the same thing, especially with AI taking over all the manual labor jobs. I work for myself. And I'm encouraging you to work for yourself, because when your boss fires you for the machines that does your job faster than you, better than you, more accurately than you, longer than you, don't take days off, don't have sick days, and can work round the clock for less money than it costs to pay you for 1 hour of work, you're going to be mad because you're sitting on the unemployment line and you can't even go and find another job for more than one reason. Reason number one, everybody lost their job in the same field. Who the fuck's going to hire you? Because all of big business is moving towards AI. Two, you're too fucking old. All of big business that does hire people want intro level people that can do it for less money. Three, and that's going to piggyback off of what I just said, you're going to want too much fucking money because of inflation. You want a living wage. They don't even want to pay you working wage. They don't have to pay the machines a wage. See what I'm saying? So the older you get, the more the technology advances, the harder it is for you to maintain employment in jobs that will benefit from replacing human workers with AI. This is one of the reasons why I tell you guys to move towards working for yourself. Steven said, the machines can't hit stuff with the forklift and cover it up in a panic. I'm irreplaceable. Well, the machines at Amazon actually don't crash into things. They have forklifts without drivers on them at Amazon. So actually, they don't have, they reduce damage. And by reducing the damage, that actually reduces the waste costs for the products. Also, by switching over to AI, because you do have people who steal, a human error removes the capital loss. So not only does big business make more money by, like for example, the just Digitech robots in the Amazon warehouses, it costs $35 a day for that robot to function, for one robot to function. You might need 3 robots to do the job of one person. So what? $105 roughly, right? Now, the Amazon workers in California and other such places just formed a union where they're getting $40 to $45 an hour minimum. Okay. Now, for 3 hours of work, 3 robots can do 3 hours of work. 3 robots can do one person's job for 24 hours. Now, if you replace 200,000 people with 600,000 robots for the hourly wage of, for 1 hour's wage, no, sorry, 3 hours wage for each one of those employees, where if they're getting $40 an hour and you're 200,000 people, that's what, $8 million roughly, either 8 million or $80 million. Now, that's how much it's going to cost to run the fucking machines all goddamn day. That's just 1 hour's worth of work from human employees. So the other 23 hours or 21 hours of day that they get of work out of those machines is free fucking labor. Then consider this fact. This is another pisser people are offer, right? they can double down and instead of having 600,000 robots, they can have 1.2 million robots for the cost of 6 hours worth of labor, where they have robots to overlap robots so that if a robot breaks down, another robot can step in and they don't need any human involvement outside of whoever's repairing the robot, right? So they can actually have, like Michael said, a completely automatic warehouse where the manager of the shift would be the tech engineer that maintenances whichever robots go offline, which means that you can have an entire warehouse pushing millions of items of product per day with one human worker in the warehouse. And if you do 3 shifts, that's 3 employees out the whole week. That's how serious it could be, right? So when I tell you guys about doing it for yourselves, like, people got to realize this is some serious shit. Y'all got to do it for yourselves. No medical expenses, no workman's comp, no on-the-job injuries, no sick days, no paid time off, no mandatory paid vacation, no bonuses. All the money that the company saves, then the money lost from accidentally breaking stuff, the money lost from deliberately breaking stuff, the money lost from people stealing stuff, the money lost from people losing stuff and then finding it after the customer had to get refunded. All of those human errors is not in the equation anymore, which saves the company money. And that's one of the reasons why I tell y'all, big business is going to replace human workers. So you got to work for yourself. And that's right. No calling in to work. Christmas, no problem. Set 24/7. And everything's going to 24/7. The only thing that backslid from 24/7 was Walmart. Walmart went from 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can go into a Walmart at 3 o'clock in the morning, go grocery shopping. Not no more. Now they close at like 10, 11 o'clock in the afternoon. Waffle House used to be 24 hours a day. Now they close at certain times of night, talking about, so we're too busy. Machine workers, no emotions. That's what I'm trying to tell y'all. So y'all got to prepare for the future. So that's why I tell y'all, no emotions, no drama. You know what I mean? They don't got to fire the machines. They just discontinue the motherfuckers. There's no discussion. No pleading. I don't got to call the police and get a restraining order on a motherfucker. I just, hey, unplug that bitch. That's it. He's done. Right? Now, today we're supposed to be talking about internalizations of misogyny. So I know that there's going to be some ladies that's going to come up here and come talking some stuff. Hopefully we don't have too many hecklers like the one from yesterday to come in and make a scene. But if we do, I'm all for it. He swore to God that I was going to be blocked, and whoop, here I am. What your boy said? They tried to shut us down about an hour ago, but we still in this. Hey. So picture this. Let's get into today's topic. You followed all the rules. You learn to be a good girl in your relationships, always accommodating, kind, and forgiving. You thought this was the key to being loved. But what if I told you, ladies, that those very rules are a form of self-betrayal, right? A quiet way to ensure that you're ending up feeling lonely and misunderstood. What if being a good girl is the very thing sabotaging your love life? For so many of us, this programming runs so deep that we don't even see it. Men do this too. We call it being a people pleaser. It doesn't benefit most of us. We mistake self-abandonment for loyalty, and we call our silence patience. Today, we're turning the lights on this topic. We're going to give insight and investigate this particular system, and we're going to take it apart piece by piece and figure out how to build love lives based on true being good, but on a whole nother level where you're being more whole, not just being good. So let's start with the definition, because you can't challenge what you can't name. At its core, internalized misogyny is what happens when we absorb the sexist beliefs floating around in our culture and turn them inward against ourselves and outward against other women. It's an involuntary, learned, and deeply habitual process. It's not a conscious choice. You can be a staunch feminist You can believe in gender equality with every fiber of your being and still have this sneaky programming running in the background of your mind, especially when it comes to love. It's a dating context, and it might show up as a quiet, persistent whisper that tells you to disrupt your own feelings. Don't trust yourself, right? It's the voice that convinces you to minimize the harm that you experience, to overvalue a man's needs and judgments while dismissing your own. It's the impulse to judge other women, his ex, the woman at the bar, your own friends, more harshly than you judge the men in your life, which could lead you to picking the wrong guy. And that's the worst part for the rest of us because the good men are put into the same picnic basket as the bad men. All men ain't shit because some of the men that she chose to date when she put the good man in the friend zone wasn't shit. So the good guy, the good guy, oh, I just want to be friends with you, that guy is now under the same category as every other dude that ran through her while you were waiting your turn. So I gotta talk about this, ladies. If y'all judged men more harshly to the magnitude where from as 15-year-old virgin to your first time to your 80th time, because some of y'all got a very high track record at such a young age, if you made better decisions about the guys that you hooked up with while recognizing the guys that you put in the friend zone more qualify your time, your attention, and your positive behaviors, you actually would have had a better experience early on where you would not be feeling that all men ain't shit. So I got to cover this topic for the rest of us because as we said before, remember, Michael, you can't harvest a crop from a field that you don't tend to. So in order for us to have less traumatized women, I've got to cover the topic. Hey, ladies, this is what y'all need to do is stop being so fucked up in the head. Look, it's the deep seated, often unconscious beliefs that being an easy, chill, or low maintenance woman is what makes you desirable and lovable. And that is not the truth. It has absolutely, look, I got to pull the weeds, break it up, pluck the seeds of stems, roll it up, light it up, blaze it up. I don't know the recipe. I'm just saying. It's going to help you understand. And this is going to be very helpful for y'all to recognize the distinctions here. Misogyny is a hostility towards women as a group. Internalized misogyny is the result of breathing in that behavior for a lifetime. It is an absorption of the toxic ideas before the good men even showed up, which then becomes the lens through which you view yourself and your relationships. So, why does dating seem to be the place where the programming comes roaring to the surface? Because the world of romance is a minefield of social conditioning. So, from a very young age, many of us are taught a specific script. Men are often positioned as the judges and the choosers, the gatekeepers of love and commitment, which has always been true. Women, in turn, are told that they should be attractive, agreeable, and above all, not too much. The truth is, you're supposed to be cooperative. You're supposed to be non-argumentative, proactive. That's what you're supposed to be. But nobody talks about those parts. You know what I mean? Now, our values can become dangerously tied to being chosen by a man. And that's one of the things that women have subconsciously filtered into their way of doing things. Women believe that they must dress like 304s and OnlyFans girls because they must be chosen by a man. Now, the women are going to say that they do it for themselves. I look cute because it makes me feel good. You look like a whore because you get male attention when you dress like that. The more scantily clad you dress, the more guys stop you in public. The more guys stop you in public, the more often you get a hot lead on a protector and a provider. So women scantily clad dress themselves deliberately, high heels, tight skirts, short skirts, push-up bras, butt lifters, waist trainers, fake hair, fake eyelashes, fake nails, so much makeup that you can turn your skin complexion from dark to light or from light to dark and completely become a completely different person just so that the guy that you're looking for can look in your direction. This is what happens. Dangerously tied to being chosen by a man, and they do this subconsciously. Then, when men tell them that's not what we want, their conditioning is so corrupted that they can't believe it. It's almost like I'm lying to you that I actually want what you're providing. I just don't want to admit. No, ma'am, I'm telling you the truth. We want the natural, fresh out of bed, jump in the shower, come straight outside with some appropriate clothes on look. That is called natural. I'm waiting on a woman that wears her natural hair 360 days out of the year. I ain't found too many of them that's not bald headed. I mean, real talk. Most of the women, especially in the minority culture, has bought their hair at a store and paid someone to install it like a turbo on a Supra. Makes no fucking sense. How are you gonna call that turbo on a Supra a stock car? How are you gonna call the weave in your scalp a stock girl? I just want y'all to explain that to me now. So think about the language that we're going to be using here. A woman who expresses her needs might be labeled as needy, crazy, or dramatic. But the women that are truthfully needy or overbearing, the ones that are crazy are breaking shit and throwing stuff from across the room and setting your car on fire, and the ones that are dramatic are cursing you out in 3 different languages in public. You got to understand the difference. The underlying message is going to be clear that a good woman adapts, while a difficult woman who voices her needs risks losing the relationship. And I'm going to agree with that part. Because if you talk too fucking much, the modern 2026 man is not going to want to put up with this shit because we have the mentality from women that do not want to reciprocate. So when she puts her demands on the table, it's almost like that United States-Iran discussion. It's a one-sided situation. We are not meeting in the middle. You either do as I say or I'm running through your shit. So men are like, nah, fuck that. Because at the end of the day, we started where you were using all of my stuff. And now you're putting up the kind of demands for unconditional surrender while still controlling my stuff? No, that's not going to work for me. Right? So this dynamic is going to be amplified in modern dating, where phrases like be chill, chill out, keep it casual, be cool, they're often framed as maturity. Or for many women, they're simply instructions for self-suppression. This pressure can feel like it's forcing a terrible choice. Do I honor myself and risk being alone, or do I silence myself to stay chosen? For the good girls, that choice was often made for her long before she ever went on her first date. Now let's talk about the good girl herself. This isn't an identity we're born with. It's meticulously constructed. Special shout out to Bruce. Those weaves are hazardous to their health. You know something? The hair dye causes cancer, birth defects. The weave is gonna cause. The glue, the lace fronts, the shit that they got. That's one of the reasons why the hair is so damn short. First, the scalp doesn't breathe. They sweat. The hair gets tangled up into the hair that they taken out. They end up breaking ends, and when ends split, then they got to cut the hair, trim the hair. The hair forever stays short. Instead of them putting the stuff in their head to keep their hair long and keep their hair growing, where like you see those women that you can like wrap it up and tug it and nothing happens to it. But you see these women that take out a bobbing pin and a knot full of gnat come out. The weave is not good for them. And then all of the chemicals and processing and everything else that they're doing, it is effectively bad for their health on a number of levels, but they don't care. They look cute. The same way smokers don't care. The nerves ain't bad no more. The principle of the fact is I'm going to do it regardless. But they shouldn't be. They shouldn't be. But I tell you that they're not born with this identity. The nappy hair. The hair is so nappy that when you try to comb your hair, it breaks the comb. The hair is so nappy that when you try to brush it, that you break the brush. The hair is so nappy that you got to use a hot comb. And when you using that hot comb, that motherfucker sizzle like steak in an Outback. You be like, damn. just to get it straight. And the heat damage sometimes is irreparable. You guys got to understand that this is going to be meticulously constructed by society, not by just men, not by just women, by society, men and women, the old school, the last generation, the 60-year-old people, all of this stuff superimposes on the next generation on how to perform. Low class behavior emulated in front of the kids encourages the kids to conduct themselves with low class behavior. But what every generation does is take what the last generation did and enhance it and amplify it. So if it was inappropriate in back in the day, and I can give you some examples. Take the moonwalk. Originally was just stepping backwards. Then Michael Jackson came up. Take the bump. We go from the bump, we go to the twist. We go from the twist, we go to the butterfly. We go from the butterfly, we go to the Tootsie Roll. We go from the Tootsie Roll, we go to pop it. We go from pop it to back it up. We go from back it up to twerk it. Do you see how vulgar it got? From shake your tail feather to drop it like it's hot. Over the course of 40 years now, every 10 years, it gets worse. So for many of us, our earliest rewards are going to come from being polite, accommodating, and emotionally manageable, right? We're praised for being forgiven, for putting others' needs first, for not making a fuss. We learn to be self-sacrificing and non-confrontational peacemakers. The ones who absorb tension so everyone else could be comfortable. Bruce says some of that Asian hair comes off dead people and desperate people with bad energy that US passed on to the new head. Oh, bro, he ain't even lying about that. So here's the thing. The mortuary trims shit. So when you die, whether it's a kneecap, whether it's the hair on your head, whatever the case may be, they get theirs off the, especially if it's a closed casket, they get theirs off the body, right? Or out of the body and turn profits off of it. There's places where this stuff comes from, folks. And then the desperate people in other countries that don't have the capabilities to make that money will grow their hair out and sell it so that they can make money for it. Then you've got, and originally hair being sold like that was supposed to go to like cancer patients and people like that who lost their hair due to a health injury, and it just became a booming market for trifling folks who don't want to just take care of their natural hair. It is understood in certain cultures that people's body in essence gives off a certain level of energy, and when that stuff is transferred, like in Asia, one of the reasons why a lot of houses in Asia have no dollar value to it is because people's energy is in that house, and culturally the feng shui is compromised. So when you move in, you're moving into somebody else's aura. When you buy somebody's hair, you buy somebody else's aura. Look at, he said the moonwalk was invented in 1934, 36. And then you look at what Michael Jackson did in 1990. Like, what, 50, 60 years later. So, you know what I mean? Take, for example, look at what happened with the robot. You know, with the robot back in the day, back in the early 90s, and now look at people, they call it flexing now, right? With the freestyle street movement, right? Everything changes. Now, at the same time, being socially and psychologically influenced at early ages, we are often discouraged from a whole range of authentic expressions. Showing anger could be seen as unladylike. Setting a firm boundary was considered rude. Demanding reciprocity is considered selfish. Being assertive was labeled as aggressive or desperate. we learned that our job was not to cause discomfort, especially for men, until feminism came. Now, over the years, this conditioning forges a painful equation in our psyche. Being loved uh, equals being low maintenance. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. Women can be moderate maintenance, but when your ass is high maintenance, it ain't got shit to do with love. You just asking for too fucking much. Men are low maintenance, so why can't women be equivalently maintainable? Women are taught though that being worthy equals being easy to be with. I'm going to agree with you. If your ass is not a fucking problem, I service my car regularly, but it is a monthly service, not a daily service. It is not. Fuckers don't even go to church every goddamn day. You sit up here talking about something. I got a servitude every day, and I don't even get the servitude in return. That's ridiculous. But when this good girl enters the dating world, that equation becomes her compass. She navigates every interaction through this lens, and this is where self-sabotage begins. She might ignore a clear red flag like him consistently being late because she doesn't want to seem confrontational. She might stay quiet when something genuinely hurts her feelings, telling herself that she's just being too sensitive. They also find themselves giving men the silent treatment instead of articulating what their problem is. Women been a pain since Adam and Eve. I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that women have been a pain since Adam and Eve. They might have started off being a pain in Adam and Eve. In certain situations, but I'm not going to say that the whole time that they've been a pain. To be honest, in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and maybe even the early 80s, women were highly valuable in relationships because women managed the house. Women didn't just manage the house by cooking and cleaning. Women didn't just manage the house by taking care of the kids. Women balanced the books. They handled the money. They paid for everything after the man went to work and made the money and brought the money back, because back in those days, you had regular business hours and the man was at work during regular business hours, and the bills got paid during regular business hours while the man was at work. Back in the day, women used to take care of their man by not only feeding him and keeping his clothes clean, but making sure that his clothes got mended, replacing his clothes when his clothes could not be mended, when they got stained, making sure that her man looked his best when he left the house to best represent the family. Back in those days, a man's success was dependent on the woman he had, which is why men look better when they're in a relationship than what they do when they're not. Sometime in the late 90s, early 2000s, women started saying, fuck man, I can do it all by myself. I don't need a man. And they changed their behavior patterns to give me, give me, give me, and do nothing for the man in return. Men's desperation for companionship has dilapidated to, I'll pay whatever I got. It ain't tricking if I got it, to make sure that I have a companion. But at the end of the day, now you've got a consistent sex partner that treats you like a servant. You're spending all of this money for that, but you're not getting the proper care that you're supposed to get from what is supposed to be considered a good woman that you would have gotten in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. That's the difference. And men are tired of that in 2026. We've dealt with it for at least 25 years, recognizing that it could be better. If you're getting the half that you're supposed to get, you got to give me the half I'm supposed to get. That's what men are asking for in 25 and 26. He said, who led Adam down the wrong path? No, Adam led Adam down the wrong path. I'm not gonna put that on no female. Look, here's the thing. Here's the thing. Okay. In the Bible, there's this whole story, right? About the apple. They were told, don't eat the fruit, right? They were told. They both knew, right? Don't eat the damn fruit. Specifically, I know Adam knew, even if Eve didn't. And the fact is that she didn't talk him into the fruit. You know what I mean? She sparked his curiosity by telling him what the fruit contained, what the information from that fruit contained, the knowledge of the gods. And his greediness allowed him to partake. Whether or not she ate the fruit has shit to do with him touching shit. First person accountability, the Lord said, don't fuck with that. That's the same as if you had two kids in Toys R Us and mama said, don't touch nothing you can't afford to buy. Your ass ain't come with no money. And your little sister got you pushing the buttons in the toy aisle because the toy says, try me. Well, mama said, if you try me, I'm going to bust your ass in this grocery store. You over here playing with these toys in the toy aisle when I told you don't touch nothing. The girl didn't get the boy in trouble. The boy, following the lead when he knew that that lead was wrong, got himself in trouble. You can't tell me that if I'm going to ride with you to go rob a bank, that it's not my fault that I went with you to rob the bank because I knew you was going to rob the bank. If you knew what we was about to do was wrong, then you going to do it with me. You are just as wrong as me. I can't blame the other person for being a part of it. You know what I mean? If I'm a part of the fuckery, that's my fault. I'm not going to blame Eve for what Adam did. Yeah, she brought him the fucking apple, but he shoved it in his mouth. Now, had she lied and said that it was a regular apple from a regular orchid bush or some shit, and he ate the apple not knowing what the fuck was going on, and then some bullshit went down, guess what? Sin is not deliberately, well, sin is deliberately doing something wrong. Sin is not going to be the accidental involvement of something that you didn't know was wrong. When he died on the cross, y'all remember he said on that cross, forgive them for they not know what they're doing is wrong, right? He did not say, forgive the people who are deliberately fucking up the rotation. He said, forgive the people who didn't know. Excuse and give pass to the people who didn't know. So if she would have slid him an apple and he didn't know where the hell that apple came from, and he took a bite out of that motherfucker, it wouldn't have been nothing. She told him which apple that was. That's the apple you're not supposed to eat. And in that situation, that is why he was punished with her, because he knew what he was doing was wrong before he did it. Bruce said that happened when the government started providing women's needs and kicking the men out of the house with welfare. He ain't lying. The Bill Clinton, when they started giving the women food stamps for each one of the kids, WIC and all that other shit, and then putting all the men on child support and then making the men pay for all the shit for the kids' care, and suspending his driver's license and putting them in jail, and now they're suspending men's passports and all this other shit for child care, but the man can't be a father to his child. That's that bullshit. That's that bullshit. Y'all remember to like and subscribe as we go through here. We got a little bit. Now, recognizing back in the day when the women were being considered, were being encouraged to be less active so that they're not being perceived as too functional, you might find yourself over functioning, taking on the lion's share of the emotional labor, planning dates, initiating difficult conversations, and managing his feelings, all while asking for very little in return, right? She's going to feel guilty for wanting basic clarity. And this is going to be early on in the dating phase. This is going to be early on in her life. This is going to be back when the women were girls, like 16, 17, 18 years old, their first 1 to 3 boyfriends, when they actually put the initiative out there, which is the clear reason why the older guys are going after the younger girls, because they put in effort in their relationships 17, 18, 19, 20 years old. At 30, it's like, fuck it, serve me. Whole different attitude from the women, right? So early on in relationship phases, women are going to feel guilty for wanting basic clarity. The thought of where is this going is immediately followed by a wave of self-criticism. Don't be so needy, you'll scare them away. That's what the old school women would tell them. Oh, don't be so needy. Oh, I don't know where we stand. Now in modern times, when a man feels that way, he in the friend zone, start being a simp. We got to understand this happens to everybody. So early on in dating experiences, girls are going to learn that they're going to see their own endurance of bad behavior as a virtue, right? You're going to see her ability to tolerate inconsistency and emotional distance, not as a sign of bad match, but as proof of her loyalty, her patience, and her goodness, right? And this is going to be made infinitely worse by the cultural wallpaper around us, because the constant choir of boys will be boys, men are just like that, and don't be too picky or you'll end up alone, all reinforce her programming. They all tell her the same thing, that the problem isn't his behavior, the problem is your expectations of better. Now, the result is going to be a woman who may tolerate disrespect and discomfort for far too long, all in the name of being a good girl, and all while making her own loneliness more likely, which causes her a large level of trauma, which then is negatively imposed on the next man. So, what does this actually look like? How does this invisible programming show up as real life self sabotage? There are a few key patterns that will likely feel painfully familiar. First, being the chill girl at your own expense. This is going to be the woman who pretends that she doesn't care about commitment because she's terrified of being seen as desperate. On the outside, she'll be all breezy, nonchalant. She'll say, "Oh, we're just having fun," even when her heart is aching for stability. Her internal monologue is a constant battle against her own needs. I shouldn't ask for more, she tells herself. He'll think I'm too much. The core belief is going to be paralyzing. If I say what I truly want, he will leave. This creates a painful paradox. She appears detached, yet she's secretly consumed by anxiety, constantly feeling lonely and undervalued, which she takes out as resentment. She's performing a role, and the cost of performance is going to be her own peace of mind. Michael says, "I'm old school. I'm the provider. She stays home and raises our kids. Invest in your future." Well, I'm a little bit old school. I'm still the provider. I would expect that somebody's going to be at the house taking care of the kids because I shouldn't have to pay somebody else to do it. But if I'm going to pay somebody else to do it, your ass better go to work, because you sitting on the couch eating bonbon watching Oprah is not going to be what I got going on. However, in modern 2026 society, you got to be open-minded to the observations that of a reasonably balanced partnership. If she's going to be a career-driven woman, even if you went to the Philippines with the matriarchal societies where the women are the breadwinners, even if you guys brought in similar amounts, the fact is that she still has her duty to cater to you the way she expects you to cater to her. Regardless of which one of y'all takes care of the kids, whether you're a stay-at-home dad or she's going to be a stay-at-home mom or whatever the case may be, y'all might swap off and take turns where she's got the kids on the weekend, you got the kids during the week, or she's got the kids at night, you got the kids during the day, whatever the case may be. But the fact of the matter is that she's supposed to balance out the structure that you've built. And you're supposed to manage the things that she doesn't have time to manage, because she's going to be managing the things that you don't have time to manage. It's not supposed to be an every man for himself situation. There is supposed to be a reasonable level of codependency, but it's supposed to be a healthy level of codependency, not an unhealthy level of sole dependency upon one individual. I'm supposed to be able to do most of the shit myself, but there's supposed to be areas where you can step in and do some things. He said, "Hi, I'm the nanny." You too old to be the dang nanny. Well, you know what's funny? Well, women are not okay with men babysitting kids, but men do a better job. He said, "Oh wow, I liked it." Yeah, but that's the thing. That's what I'm trying to tell you, Bruce. That's what I'm trying to tell you. It's supposed to be a reasonable, because think about this. First of all, women feel oppressed by men saying that they want a wife that knows how to cook and clean and do the laundry and take care of the kids, right? But think about this real quick. Majority of at least in the United States, who tailors clothes? Men. Who's in the kitchen cooking the food? Men. Who owns the dry cleaners? More often than not, the men. So when a man who cooks for himself, cleans up behind himself, does his own laundry, organizes his own shit, asks for a woman that is capable and willing to do for him the stuff he doesn't have time to do, guess what he's asking for? Fucking equality. Because if I'm willing to cook for you, bitch, you supposed to cook for me. If I'm willing to run your bathwater and give you foot massages and give you back massages and do all of this catering to you, you're supposed to do that same shit for me. There is absolutely no reason why you're going to enjoy the perks of the princess treatment, and I'm not going to get the perks of the king treatment. A maid, yeah. Well, see, that's one of the reasons why guys sleep with the maid. Because at the end of the day, the maid is doing for the husband what the wife's not doing. The reason why men leave their wives for the secretary is because the secretary is getting paid by the hour to do what the wife is not doing when the wife is getting the whole fucking salary. She's getting his whole salary. And she's not, which means his 70, 80, $120,000 a year salary, the wife gets the whole salary, and she's not willing to perform as a wife, but the secretary getting minimum wage is willing to do for the husband what the wife's not willing to do. Y'all can't make me understand why that shit happens. The selfishness, right? Now, back to but that's not the good girls. We're talking about the good girls today. Back to the good girls. The second pattern that we're going to see with good girls that negatively impacts them is going to be that pick me behavior. This is going to be more active strategies where the good women try to get approval from men by distinguishing herself from other women. She might proudly say that I'm not like other girls, or I get along better with guys, which are red flags. But they expect there to be less drama, right? She might mock other women for wanting commitment or expressing emotion, and she aligns herself with male options to seem special, downplaying her own hurt to appear more resilient. You got to understand, a female hanging around too many guys is a red flag, because I mean, if ain't none of them guys trying to wife you up, then there is no value there. Women don't understand that. That's a contradicting behavior. Um, Modern 2026 women strongly believe that men and women can be platonic friends with no interest on either side. And just because she's not interested in him doesn't mean that she can speak for the both of them and say that he's not interested in her the way she's not interested in him. He's only there because he's interested in her, and she doesn't want to admit that. She's got the emotional connection that she needs, and that's really all that matters, and everything else can just get flushed down the toilet. That poses a huge problem, right? There isn't a consideration for his feelings, right? A lot of the times, a lot of the women, especially the ones in the 90s and the 2000s, started growing up behaving like men. This behavior turned good women into masculine men. And that's one of the reasons why we're talking about it, because in order to fix a problem, we got to talk about what the fucking problem is so we can put a stop to this shit. Michael says, my folks have female massage therapists that come to the house, and all my mind keeps thinking of a happy ending. Well, I wouldn't say a happy ending, but I can say that if you've got, if your parents are doing it right, where we're going to pay for the help to do for the both of us so that we don't have to do it for each other, that's perfectly fine. That's actually more encouraging. That only makes sense, though, if your partner is not wasting all of the money. Because you understand that if y'all are living on 75% of your income, you got between $15,000 and $25,000 worth of extra money for the average family, where y'all making like 80 grand. Y'all should be living on like 55,000 of it. Y'all should have about $25,000-$30,000 left over, right? And out of that $25,000-$30,000, y'all can pay for discretional spending such as housekeepers, maids, babysitters, and other such things. The average family lifestyle creep starts buying shit they can't afford, leasing things they can't afford, and then a bunch of gifts for the wife. Now, yeah, the guys do some stupid shit. PlayStation, Xbox, GTA 6 pre-order, Tesla pre-order, loud ass stereo system, tickets, big ass rims, flat tires, lift kits, impounded cars, tent, impounded cars. You know what I mean? Everybody does some stupid shit. But the fact is that the reason why you can't pay for the maid, and you can't pay for the massage therapist, and you can't pay for the things that aren't covered under your health insurance is because you're wasting too much money on the stuff that's insignificant, which is why I talk to you guys about finding other ways to balance your budget. Now, this survival strategy is going to backfire, and that's what I've been talking about this whole time, is how this behavior backfires. It's going to leave her in a situation where she's going to be isolated from the very people who could offer her real solidarity, which is other women. It's going to isolate her from the good men that actually wanted the way she was behaving before she started changing. It's going to make her entirely dependent on male approval, and typically the women go after the negative males, so the negative male's improvement ends up having her behave in a negative fashion. That's why we have the overly scantily clad design for women as common behavior patterns. It's not supposed to be that way. We just talked about yesterday on the show, not yesterday, Wednesday on the show, where we were talking about the Solemn Islands, where modesty is a social expectation. Western culture, women would not survive in that particular type of country because they don't remember what modesty looks like. Modesty is being treated as misogynistic. Michael says, your life should be 80% work, 20% noise. Elon Musk is 90% work. Elon Musk is a billionaire. I don't know what you're talking about. Your life should be 20% work, 80% results. And the other 20% should be entertainment towards the rest of your life. You should not be spending 80% of your life working. But a lot of people spend 80% of their time working for 20% results. And then the other 20% just passes the time because they don't know how not to not be busy. Fuck that shit. I'm sleeping. So most people are following the bad examples of the government living their mean. Living there. Okay. A lot of people are following the bad examples of the people who misappropriate the government funds that have them living above their means. And I think that's what you were trying to talk about, where people are on Section 8 houses and they're spending $20,000 on fucking prom, their Bentleys and all this other shit instead of spending that money towards investing in their future. People are taught, oh, yeah. That's what I figured that's where you're going with that, Bruce. You said, Bruce, give an example. I'll give you an example right now. Like, look at what we just finished talking about a week or two ago with the fucking prom. Most of the kids that was out there with those expensive ass suits, with those expensive ass cars, private jets, they had fucking WWE intros for fucking prom. They had fireworks, they had pyros, they had Titantrons and shit. They had press conferences and shit to go to the damn prom, bro. To go to the damn prom. We used to go to the prom, carpool with whoever got their driver's license before the age of 18, and we would carpool to the fucking prom and park and teacher prom for parking and go to the fucking gym, and that was damn prom. The most exaggerated spending that we had for prom was house parties or a case of beer where we're going to go out to the lake and get drunk, smoke a couple blunts, probably take some LSD, some ecstasy or some stupid shit, chew on some mushrooms or something like that, trip balls out in the woods, and hopefully everybody makes it home. You know what I mean? That's what we had for prom. If we spent $500 between 10 people for prom, which is almost $50 a person, that was a good night. These parents in 2026 was spending tens of thousands of dollars per child on prom. Not for the school. They weren't paying tens of thousands of dollars for the school. If all the money they spent on these kids having a goddamn prom, they could have had fucking prom at Madison Square Gardens for fucking WrestleMania with all the money they spent on goddamn prom. But these parents wasted so much money on the kids, which teaches the kids how to be financially wasteful. The kids learn how to be irresponsible. I seen a TikTok video where this mom was up here complaining about how her son got picked on by other kids because he bought some Mexican Jordans, the 6 ring, because these $200-something pairs of shoes, I guess, were made in Mexico or some stupid shit like that. It's fucking $200 pair of fucking Nikes. Bro, go to a damn Burlington Coat Factory and get that shit for $35. They sitting over here talking about these kids get picked on by other kids about fucking. If you wasn't trying to keep up with the Joneses, they wouldn't be able to fuck with you because you ain't doing it right. No. Everybody else out there wearing Jordans and you over here wearing goddamn Doc Martens and shit. They're gonna be like, damn, this motherfucker out here with it. You're paying $300 for a pair of Jordans and I got a $300 pair of Stacey Adams or some shit. You know what I mean? FX Trader said Musk proved that to get anything done, you have to spend 90% of your time on it. Nah, well, I mean, yeah, I'm kind of on the fence with that because I spend about 6 to 8 hours a day on this podcast. I'm gonna spend 90% of my time doing it, but I am diligently on it. So I can't say that 90% or 99% of the time is required, but you do have to put all of your free time towards it in order to make yourself successful. Anything that you do half-ass, anything that you put less effort into, you're going to get less results. So the most effective way to be successful is to be dedicated and diligent. Michael says 99% of Americans are living above their means. Yes, sir. You are correct. I love broke people. Yeah, they stimulate the economy. Focus 95% of your time for retirement. Now, I can agree with that. Focusing on future retirement with 90% of your time and 10% of your time enjoying today. Yeah, I can agree with that. Now, eventually, the performance that we're talking about gets exhausting. So when she's inevitably failing to be the cool girl, when she has a need or a moment of vulnerability, the judgment that she projected onto other women comes crashing back down on her. So a third pattern is going to be judging other women more harshly than a man. And this is going to be internalizing the misogyny in its classic forms. It's going to be the knee-jerk tendency to slut shame a woman for her sexual choices or label her as dramatic or an attention seeker. I'm going to be honest with you, probably need a little bit more than that so that they can start dressing more modest. But it's going to be the impulse to blame a woman for a man's bad behavior. Well, what was she wearing? I'm going to be honest with you. If she was dressed in like the Kim Kardashian or Lil Kim or Cardi B or somebody like that, I'm going to be like, yeah, you attracted the wrong dude, Miss Man. While excusing men for the shrug and that behavior of that's just how men are kind of thing. Women don't like catcalling from men, but women dress in a way to encourage that catcalling. And I tell women don't dress that way. Now, men should be catcalling women, but at the same time, I mean, if the skirt is that short where I can tell that you're wearing Hello Kitty underwear, the skirt is too damn short. So some dude sees that and goes, here, kitty, kitty. At the end of the day, you put yourself in that position. While his behavior was inappropriate and unacceptable, your attire was equally inappropriate and unacceptable. That's just my take on it. Bruce said, should have seen the disparaging remarks from them folks on the line about the black kids prom. I was talking so much cash about the black kids prom because them kids was out there with their damn Section 8 money. I had nothing positive to say about none of them kids out there. Everybody with wads of cash over here flashing their money so that they can get robbed, expensive behind suits. The peak of their life is going to be high school prom, and it's downhill from here. They'll never have an event in their life that will cost as much as their damn prom, not even their fucking wedding. One, they're not going to be able to afford it. Series of bad decisions. Yeah, I had nothing positive to say about that because you got to recognize is that all the wealthy kids got on the school bus and rode to prom with regular fucking clothes. All the broke kids was getting escorted in fucking DB9s and Phantoms and all this other shit. While the kids on the free lunch program got goddamn Aston Martins and private jets dropping them off and shit. If you couldn't pay for school lunch all fucking year, shouldn't you at least come to prom in a Honda Civic? What the fuck? I'm being for real at it. I mean, they could have did something. They could have spent that 20 grand and got the kids their first car, cash up front. But you spent all that money on a fucking rental? Now they're going to be catching the bus next week. What happened to that DB9? Oh, it was just for prom. Michael said, so what are you doing with the 40% of your free time? I'm going to tell you right now, I'm sleeping. That 40% free time, I'm sleeping. Now, I understand, y'all, this is going to be some double standards that is going to be central to the system. And that's one of the reasons why this is a cultural disparagement situation. Steven says, Honda Civic is a bad choice. Pull up in a Toyota. Well, you're biased against Honda Civics, but when I was talking about making bad choices, I said the lesser of two evils. Instead of wasting all your money on renting a high-end luxury car for the day, you could have bought cash up front a Honda Civic. While it is still not a good choice, it is a better choice than wasting all your rent money on an expensive ass rental car to look good for the evening and then be broke as fuck tomorrow. So I'm not saying that Honda Civic is better than Toyota. I'll never say that. But what I'm saying is that Honda Civic would have been a better choice than getting dropped off at an Aston Martin and costing your mama 20 grand to get dropped off at school in an Aston Martin when you could have caught the fucking bus like the rich kids did. Caught the school bus like the rich kids did. Because that's exactly what they're saying. Even though some of the kids were in nice neighborhoods, the kids that was spending their money on that bullshit was not kids from wealthy families. The kids that was spending all their money on that bullshit was kids coming from financially challenged neighborhoods where the parents got that government check from the refund from all that overtime that they was doing last year and decided, I'm gonna give you something special. We gonna make your prom the shit this year. But that makes the rest of your life the shit, not just the shit as in the best thing in the world. It's just the shit. It is the shittiest life that you will have after prom because all that money your mama could have did for your freaking college education went into one night of showing off for most of the people that did not like you at school. Because how many people right now on the podcast went to a high school where they were liked by everybody in the school? Most of us had people we hated. Most of us had people that hated us. And all of us didn't like the fucking teacher. And everybody hated the principal. So why was we spending all that money to impress a bunch of people that we could get two shits about the day after prom? He said, them folks mean WP. Hey, it don't matter if them folks was the white people. It don't matter if them folks was the black people. I had a problem with them minorities acting foolish. And them folks had every right to say that shit was stupid because it was. He said you can get a limo service cheaper than renting a supercar. But that's my point, Steven. So here we go. You could have bought the kids a brand new Honda Civic, which would have cost you $25,000, and that car would have lasted them 5 years at the very least. If they would have took care of it and not got into a crash with it, it could have lasted them 15 years, which would have gave them guaranteed transportation to work and everything like that. They could have used it as a fucking Uber, right? Now you got a career because you can get out of high school, 18 years old, driver's license, you own your car, go work for Uber and make you some money until you figure out what you're going to do at college, right? Or if you're going to try to do something for prom, limo seats like 8 people, right? 8 kids could have chipped in and split that bill 8 ways, Groupon style, and got a limo to prom and saved money. Or the middle class and upper middle class kids that all got on a public school bus for free and got off of the yellow school bus in their prom clothes and went to the school gym because this is a school function. Why am I wasting my cash dollars on a public school function? I don't understand. That's why I was going ham on. Now, in the dating context, the behaviors that we were talking about earlier is going to be in a situation where you might give a man the benefit of the doubt again and again. These are going to be the women that choose good girls that choose bad guys, and that benefit of the doubt, he's just bad at texting, stressed with work or not ready for a relationship, creates the trauma that leads us to the traumatized woman after the fact. You create a tapestry of excuses for his inconsistencies. But if a female friend were to behave in similar flaky ways, you'd likely see it for what it is. This cognitive disassociated behavior keeps you stuck, extending grace where it isn't earned. Like I said, go to work 18 with Amazon as a driver, make $40 an hour, not bad. Yeah, but you can go to work for Uber with your own car as a driver and be probably making upward of $150 an hour, depending on where you're at. That's not bad either. That my college graduation is in 2 weeks. Looks like if I want to keep up with the Joneses, I have a lot of work to do. Man, I will buy the outfit that they require me to wear to walk across the stage. And that is the only $100 to $300 that I will spend on my graduation. I will wear that outfit to a restaurant that will give me 20% off because I graduated. Then I will take that 20% off and leave it on the table as a tip for the waiter, where I did not have to pay extra money to tip the help. And then I'm going to take my ass back home. Uber's dealing with drunk people. I don't understand your point, Michael. When you drive for Amazon, you're dealing with dogs, you're dealing with drunk people, you're dealing with cops, you're dealing with ironic police officers and people jumping fences and people stealing the packages, but managers complaining about you not dropping the product off at the right house. There's never a job that's just so peaceful that everybody wants to do it. There's pluses and minuses to every job. He said you can rent a graduation shoot. Yeah, I think about that for a second. If you are an average sized individual, you can potentially rent a graduation suit. However, if you have to make adjustments on that outfit so that it fits, you can just buy one. If your school has revolving graduations where the graduation place rents out the outfit the same way they rent out tuxedos, yeah, you can graduate. But there are a lot of schools that this year it's a new cap and gown outfit. It's not rentable a lot of the times because the outfit that you got to wear this year just came out. Schools do that to make money. I'll support the school and buy this outfit one time because I mean, fuck, I just went through 12 years of high school and middle school and everything like that on a free lunch program. I should have saved up enough money to buy the damn cap and gown. At $3 to $5 a plate for breakfast and lunch 5 days a week, I should have saved up enough money to buy my fucking cap and gown and my class ring. You know, and the fucking school photos and the damn graduation book. 12 years of free college. He said, just wear the gown and go naked under it. But that's exactly what I said. Didn't I tell you all I'm gonna pay for is the cap and gown? I ain't buying a suit. I ain't putting on nothing else. I'm gonna put on a cap and the gown and the shoes, the Doc Martens that I was wearing to the damn school. That's it. That's it. When that cap and gown come off, all I got is some fucking shoes on my feet. Junk swinging in the wind. Just because why not? I'm not spending all that money. It's hot. I ain't spending all that money on all that stuff. And that's gonna be another reason why I buy the cap and gown, because I don't want them to talk about you left some stains on it. I know I did. They said something made me shit. Finally, and most dangerously, one of the patterns that can culminate in acceptance of mistreatment is going to be, for instance, where some research has found a correlation between women having stronger internalized misogynistic beliefs and an increased acceptance of psychological dating violence from men. So when you've been conditioned to believe that you're less deserving and that your feelings are an overreaction, then your internal alarm system can get disabled, and you might start to minimize controlling behavior, rationalizing his constant checking of your phone as a sign of how much he cares, and you may find yourself staying in an emotionally unhealthy relationship, blaming yourself for his moods. If only I were calmer, or you might think he wouldn't get so angry. You know, internalized misogyny doesn't just make you unhappy, it can make you unsafe by wearing down the boundaries and non-negotiable expectations that are meant to protect you. Is that remember streaking in the day? Yes, but you didn't do it across the stage for graduation. You did it after graduation, in the middle of the night. Now, this is going to bring us to the core emotional consequences, a profound, bone deep loneliness, and this is going to be the great paradox of the good girl scenario, which corrupts her from being a good girl to being a not so good girl down the line. So she may be in the long-term relationships, but she's going to feel utterly alone while she's with this person. She feels unseen because the person uh, uh, her partner is with isn't really her. It's an edited, accommodating version of her. Her true self, with all of its messy feelings and needs, remains hidden and therefore unknown and unloved. And that's going to be one of the reasons why they find comfort outside of their relationships. She's going to feel under supported because she's been trained not to ask for what she wants. She carries uh, her burdens in silence, believing that if she asks for help, that is going to be a burden on somebody else, and she doesn't want to be a burden. She becomes the rock for everyone else, but there's no rock for her to lean on. She's going to feel emotionally starved because the connection that she has is going to be built on genuine reciprocal intimacy, and it is built on her ability to service someone else's needs instead of servicing her own. She's performing connection rather than experiencing it, watching herself go through the motions while the feelings of being truly met remain perpetually out of her reach. So she's not actually feeling uh, what she's expressing, right? And this loneliness is going to be the direct result of self abandonment. So every time she edits herself to stay chosen or swallows her needs to keep the peace, she's sending a message to the deepest parts of her that it needs or its expectations are invalid and its feelings are wrong. And this is going to be why many relationships for the good girl feel hollow. His needs and moods are unconsciously treated as more valid than hers. His stress becomes central organizing principles of the household, while her burnout is seen as something to be managed quietly. When she does dare to express a feeling of hurt, she preemptively calls herself crazy. I'm overreacting. I'm being too emotional. Overreacting is screaming at the top of your voice where your voice is echoing off the building. Being too emotional is screaming, crying, and cursing everybody out in the middle of public instead of taking a breath, calming down, and rethinking your position and then verbally articulating what your problem is. Two different things. Trying to articulate that you have a concern and then being silenced by the other person and being perceived as overreacting, that's not the same thing. Typically, after experiencing this behavior over and over again, women start projecting this on their new boyfriends. And that's one of the reasons why I'm talking about. Because I know that a lot of men have always heard situations where women are saying, "Oh, you crazy, you so crazy, stop overreacting, don't get your panties in a twist, stuff like that. You're being too emotional, you're too sensitive," which is their self-projections of how they were treated growing up, how they're going to project that off onto men, which makes their future relationships toxic, which we're going to be getting into in a minute. But this is going to be the internal echo of the culture that has long trivialized women's feelings, and she becomes the chief emotional officer of the relationship, where she has to gently explain his impact on her, smooth over every tension, and manage his ego. This chronic emotional labor is going to be exhausting, and it inevitably breeds a deep-seated simmering resentment just beneath her smile at the surface. And while she's doing the work of two people and feeling the love of none, she will start projecting that resentment in the current relationship and every relationship thereafter. Now, if you recognize yourself in this, the first thing that you need to know is that you're not broken and that you're not alone about this, because this is a social inheritance where everybody is doing this to one another, not a personal failing. So the good news is that what has been learned can be unlearned. It's not easy, but it is possible. So let's talk about how. First thing is going to be awareness and naming. You have to see the programming running before you can uninstall it. You want to start by noticing the languages. How do you talk about yourself and other women? Do you call yourself crazy for having needs? Do you call his ex dramatic? Start to catch these automatic judgments and ask, where did this belief come from? Is it truly mine, or is it a script that I was handed? Second, actively challenging your thoughts. This is going to be a technique from cognitive behavioral therapy, and it's incredibly powerful. When you catch an automatic thought like, if I ask for clarity, he'll leave, you have to challenge it and replace it. First, identify the thought. I'm being too much. Then question it. Is it really true that wanting security makes you feel like you got too much? Or does it just make you a human with a functioning attachment system? Finally, you want to replace it with a more accurate, compassionate statement. Instead of, I'm too much, try, my needs are valid. They're just not being met. They're going to be the compass pointing me towards what I require to feel safe. Now, this feels awkward at first, trying to articulate your verbiage like this, but with repetition, you begin to carve new neutral pathways. You're actively rewiring your brain for self worth. And third, and perhaps the hardest step, is boundary practices, because internalizing misogyny obliterates boundaries. Rebuilding them is essential. You want to start small. Learn to say no without a 5-paragraph essay explaining why. No, that doesn't work for me is a complete sentence. It involves stating what you want early and clearly, not as a demand, but as a fact. So, for example, you can just say, uh, uh, just so you know, I'm dating with the intention of finding a long term partner. What are you looking for? This isn't an ultimatum, it's an act of clarity. It saves you both months of confusion and the discomfort that you'll feel when you first start uh, uh, your involvement in a relationship. Now, this is going to be immense for you because your job is going to be to learn to tolerate that discomfort, that feeling that is the sound of you choosing yourself. Maybe for the first time, might feel a little bit weird. Uh, he says, "Is this why rich people put all their needs and expectations from the other party into their prenuptial agreement?" Yes, actually, that's going to be exactly that. So you see prenuptial agreements looking reckless, infidelity and abuse, and any type of negative scenario that would nullify the prenuptial agreement. Where if she screws up and doesn't meet his needs, then the agreement is void and she gets nothing. And if she messes, or if he messes up and doesn't meet her needs or does something out of pocket, then she gets half of his estate or all of his estate, voiding the document, stuff to that effect. Yeah, that's where these prenups come from, is that um, all of their needs and expectations from both sides of the fence are put into a contractual agreement. And that's one of the reasons why I talked to you guys a few months ago about the girlfriend contract, which is like the starting stages of a prenuptial agreement, where you guys actually have the division of assets and the discussions on contributions in the relationship, where if your partner is living with you and they're providing financial contributions, that they're not providing financial contributions towards equity stake in your assets, that they would be providing financial contributions as leasing the usage of your items, and being able to get that clarified in writing. If you're dating somebody for 10 years and they were giving you money for the car note, they're not giving you money to pay for the car and have partial ownership of the car. They signed a contract saying that they're providing you X number of dollars per month that goes towards the usage and maintenance of based on usage of that car, which means that if they were giving you half of the car note for the last 5 years, it doesn't make it their car. It just means that they can use the car whenever they wanted to while they were in a relationship. So now that the relationship is over, the same way your contract with Enterprise is over, your relationship with that car is going to be over, because that was never your car. You just rented, right? Because you put it under contract. You don't put it under contract because she gave you money. For any reason, she could say she gets half of the car, because you can't prove that the money did not inadvertently or secondarily sidestep towards giving you the ability to cover the cost of the car. Same thing with if you own your own house and you move a girl into your house and she starts living in your house. if you don't have that contract that says, well, the money that she provides while in the house is going towards the room and board and repairs of the house, renting the space, she can end up saying that it is contributions towards the equity shares of ownership of the house. And now she can take half of the house because she gave you money. Months that might have passed by when you didn't have money for the mortgage, she gave you money for the mortgage. And that is her shares of ownership of the house. Well, if you got it under contract that says, well, she lives here and she's supposed to be providing me with 50% of the cost of the mortgage as rent to stay here. The mortgage is $2,000 and you're giving me $1,000 a month. That's rent. That's not equity stake in the house. So when I was talking to you guys about that girlfriend contract, that could lead into a fiance contract, which could include the purchase of the ring, the setup of the engagement party, the wedding party, and everything to that effect, where the wedding is a binding arrangement. And if the failure of the wedding occurs for whatever reason, recouping property and assets, because that's what's actionable in court. The cost of the ring, the cost of the party, this, that, and the third. Failing to appear for an event the same way if a WWE superstar fails to show up for WrestleMania, whatever they were supposed to get paid, they don't get paid. Whatever you were supposed to get not showing up to the wedding, you got to reimburse that. These kind of contracts leads to prenuptial agreements. If you've got a girl willing to sign contracts within the first 3 months of your relationship and you're renewing those contracts every year, by the time you get to the marriage, y'all are in a prenup with, like Michael said, multiple addendums that includes every previously constructed agreement that y'all have documented about your relationship, where the division of assets has been documented since day one. The division of assets and the authorization of usage of assets has been documented since day one. By the time you get to the divorce, you should have 5, 10, 20 years worth of contracts that shows every year when assets were added to the relationship, this is the ownership that you have of that. This is the ownership that I have of that, which means that upon separation, these are the things that you get, which is what you signed 5 years ago. These are the things that I get, which is what I signed 3 years ago. It makes it easier for the lawyers to step in. Now, yeah, you've got some petty people that are going to want to fuck all the contracts up and say, now I'm still taking everything, right? There's always that person. And it's not because of greed. Sometimes it's because they are hurt so bad emotionally that they want you to feel the same hurt that they feel. So they're going to try to take the most valuable things that you have from you, not because of its monetary value, but because of its emotional value to you. They want to take that from you so that you can now feel the hurt that they have felt. That's usually where this comes from. Right? It's not just like gold digger status and everything like that. A lot of the times, this is a vendetta of pain. And so, yeah, that's where these prenups come from. And I encourage broke people to do the same shit. Because while one of the things that breaks up a prenup is not being fully transparent, one of the things that breaks up your relationship is not being fully transparent. So, I mean, if you're going to be fully transparent in a non-resentment, non-judgmental, non-retaliatory relationship, ladies, because you got to do it too if you expect your man to do it, then y'all should be able to sign a contract where y'all can sit there and articulate exactly what we're going to do, how we're going to do it, who's going to have what. If there's 3 cars outside and 2 of them are mine and 1 of them is going to be yours, I'm not going to Indian give and be like, no, I'm taking it back from you. No, I'm gonna that's your car. It doesn't matter who's paying for that motherfucker. That's your car. But we should make sure that with the division of assets is going to be a division of debt. Because if we part ways, I'm not going to be sitting here with all the credit card debt and all the car notes and all of this, that, and third, but you're going to have a fucking house. But I got to pay the mortgage. No, that's when people make mistakes in the division of property. And you're supposed to be able to discuss that early on. Before she moves in, that girlfriend contract got to be there. Before she moves in, I don't care if y'all are in an apartment. I don't care if you and your mama basement. Before y'all move into the same house and start having everybody have a copy of the key to the house, before that happened, y'all supposed to have a contract, a division of essence. And that contract is supposed to be renewed every 6 months to a year. Whenever y'all buy something new, amend that contract. Whenever y'all replace something old, amend that contract. Right? Every big financial decision comes with an updated contract. That way y'all agree now. Before we finance this house, we're going half on the house. And when the shit goes south, we got to liquidate the house. If we agree that we're going half on the house, and upon a separation, you get the house and you reimburse me my investment on the house, that's fine. That can actually work. We've been together for so long, we put $100,000 towards the house, but because you're going to keep the house, you got to give me $50,000 of our contribution, and you keep the house. She doesn't have to sell the house because we got this under contract. She can mortgage the house for 50 grand, give me the 50 grand, and then take that. I can take that 50 grand and go buy my own fucking house. She can keep the house. She can just take a second mortgage out and give me back my 50. Right? But if you don't have that stuff under contract, you fuck around and find out that the law is typically not on the man's side. The law is typically not on the breadwinner side, the person who's making the most money. Right? Now, the fourth thing that you guys got to consider: feminist or trauma-informed therapy. Now, while self-help is going to be powerful, sometimes we need a guide. Working with a good therapist can be incredibly resourceful, providing you a safe space to explore the roots of the beliefs that you have, the healing attachment wounds that make abandonment so scary, and rebuild the trust in your own perception. And then one of the final things you're going to want to do is you want to seek out community and sisterhood. So the poison of internalized misogyny is going to be isolation from other women, and the antidote is going to be solidarity. But you're going to have to find positive women that have a positive mindset towards social interaction. Those are like, fuck him, he ain't shit, you don't need him, you can do that all by yourself. That's another level of toxicity. That's the misandry that we actually haven't talked about on the show yet. Matter of fact, while I'm mentioning it, I should probably cover that part because y'all gotta understand it. This is some stuff that not a lot of people really talk about. But I think the Whatever podcast I covered at one point in time, and I thought about this like a few months ago, like, we don't talk about this because we don't. We don't. For example, the feminist flavored misandry and internalized misogyny can actually reinforce each other and make dating even more confusing and painful, especially for good girls who already doubt themselves. Instead of freeing women, a hostile stance towards men can trap them in new forms of fear, bitterness, and self-betrayal layered on top of the old conditioning, which also puts women in a position where their trauma has them seeking out the bear instead of the man in that man versus bear in the woods metaphor. That will be a 10-part installment. Now, I think I can cover it in the next 40 minutes. Check this out. First, misogyny is a system and attitude of hostility, contempt, and control directed at women as a group. Misandry is hostility or contempt towards men as a group, and it can develop as a reaction to living in a misogynistic system, even among people with feminist beliefs. So internalized misogyny is not conscious hatred of women. It's women absorbing the idea that women, including themselves, are less rational, less worthy, and more too much, and then policing themselves and other women accordingly. A woman can be loudly anti-sexist in theory and still carry internalized misogyny, and she can also react to repeated harm by sliding into all men are trash thinking at the same time. Now, how feminist misandry can develop: women who identify as feminists have experienced sexism, harassment, or abuse and are actually aware of patriarchal harms. Continuous exposure to stories of male violence and entitlement can produce a protective overgeneralization. Men as a class are dangerous, selfish, or morally inferior, right? Which is why women would prefer to be mauled by a bear than protected by a man. Now, research on feminist women's dating shows another layer. They often feel cognitive dissonance when they are attracted to men who display conventional provider traits or traditional masculinity that they simultaneously see as sexist. That tension between real attraction and political values can create resentment, distrust, and emotional fatigue directed towards men as a group who didn't do shit in the first place. Now, I'm telling you, this is this gets worse. He says, "Where's that bear? Hey, boo boo, you want to help me go find out one of those picnic baskets?" Now, homicidry and internalized misogyny feed each other. Men are trash, women are weak ideology. A misandrous stance might say men are toxic, selfish predators, which is how women treat all men or the majority of men. But internalized misogyny quietly adds, and women are stupid for wanting them, weak for catching feelings, and pathetic if they get hurt. The good girl then shames herself twice. First, for being mistreated. Second, for even trusting the man in the first place. That's why fuck this, I'll do it all by myself behavior is what the alpha boss lady is starting to do these days. This can intensify the pattern where she minimizes her own needs and feelings to prove that she's not that naive girl, which is just another form of self punishment. It maintains the core misogynistic belief that a woman's suffering is relationship in a relationship is primarily her own fault. Now, from the pick me to the I hate all of them behavior without healing, you have some women who move from being deeply pick me, over identifying with men, scorning other women, to a hostile, all men are the enemy behavior after a major betrayal or exposure to the feminist analysis without fully healing the underlining self contempt. Now, on the surface, the um, allegiance flips from aligning with men to aligning against them, but the structure is still going to be the same. Men remain the central reference point, either to impress or to hate. Women's needs are still secondary to the drama around men. Then the women still view her own vulnerability as disgusting or shameful. So misandry, hating of men, here doesn't erase internalized misogyny. It just paints with a new ideological color while the loneliness and self doubt still persists. Now, hypervigilance that validates women are crazy turns out where if a woman approaches dating with the belief that men are dangerous and always about to hurt me, then she may enter every interaction in a state of hypervigilance, which is a low grade constant fear, and suspicion, which is why she's checking your phone, GPS tracking your ass, where you at, when you late, let me smell your dick, all of this behavior. In a sexist culture, which is the Western culture, that can easily be spun as proof that women are irrational, overreactive, and incapable of trusting anyone, reinforcing stereotypes that she already fears. Now, this can intensify gaslighting dynamics on both sides of the fence because when she expresses legitimate concerns, they're dismissed as misandrous paranoia, which then makes her doubt her perception even more. That self doubt is exactly what internalizes the misogyny thieves that thrives on her emotional perception. Now, blocking healthy male relationships and female solidarity is going to be another issue because misandry can lead to avoiding or dismissing men who are actually respectful, collaborative, and emotionally available because trusting any man feels like betrayal of the sisterhood or a naive risk. That's what we're dealing with in 2026. At the same time, internalized misogyny can keep her harsh and competitive towards other women, seeing them as brainwashed or pick me's rather than as complex individuals. Now, the result is going to be deeper isolation, no real trust with men, and no true warmth with women, only ideological alignments. that isolation makes her more reliant on abstract anger to feel powerful, which is related in the negative behavior of the average woman from every culture in the Western society, while her real rational needs consistently go unmet. Now, I told you I dig deep on this topic. How this combination exacerbates the lonely good girl dynamic is that when internalizing misogyny and misandry mixed together, the good girl can end up in a double bind because she feels ashamed for wanting love from men that she theoretically knows are hopeless. She feels contemptuous of herself for missing exes or craving intimacy. She feels morally superior but emotionally starved, which can push her back into low quality situations out of loneliness, where you went from striving for a man of value to accepting an ain't shit dude because you didn't want to be alone. And each time that ain't shit dude relationship ends badly, that reinforces your dynamic and mentality that all men ain't shit. But it wasn't that all men ain't shit. It's just that you are easily more attractable to the ain't shit dude. Hold up now. Got to take y'all to church on a Friday night. Now, unorthodox ways to diffuse the misandry without betraying the feminist model. You have to have this goal that is not to swing back to naivety or male centered appeasement, but to stop feeling a worldview that quietly keeps harming the women. Stop harming yourself. Separate systems from the individuals. You want to practice those of the problem namings as systemic, patriarchal, socialization, impunity, rather than purely essential. Men are inherently trash. That should not be your thought process. Society expects us to behave certain ways. That should be your thought process. This is going to allow you to hold men accountable for what they do while leaving room for individual variations in growth because not all men are the same way, right? Now, uh, uh, this shift is going to allow you to protect your critical lens while lowering the background hatred that corrodes your own nervous system and your abilities for hope. You're able to make space for complexity in your own desires because studies have shown that feminist women can feel real cognitive dissonance when they're attracted to men who embody traditional provider or high status traits they also see as sexist and power landed. So instead of shaming yourself as a bad feminist for these attractions, treat them as data about your wiring, history, and context, not as a moral verdict. Now, more honest um, internal scripts are going to be more effective for you. You know, I'm attracted to X qualities, some of which are bound up with gender norms. I can negotiate which versions of X are healthy for me instead of pretending that I shouldn't feel this at all. You want to develop some standards that are value based, not gender based. So you want to shift from never trust a man to I only build relationships with people who consistently demonstrate respect, accountability, and care. That standard filters out many harmful men, but it grounds in behavior that is not a blanket of contempt towards an entire gender. Now, for the good girl, this is going to help her stop proving that she's smart by hating men and then harming men and start proving that she's wise by choosing well and leaving when her standards aren't being met, when her standards are reasonably achievable, right? Now, you want to allow grief and anger about men without turning it into your identity because misandry often hardens when real grief and rage never get fully processed. They get frozen into a pattern of I hate men identity, structured spaces such as therapy, trauma groups, or circles where women can safely speak out what men have done to them. Let that anger move to a transformative area. Let it go instead of calcifying it inside of yourselves. You know, you can hold some men have deeply harmed me and I'm furious, and I refuse to let that pain define me entirely and compromise my view of half of the human race or myself forever. You can structure that, right? Is that all or nothing, all in or all out type of thinking is hard to adapt in many areas of life. That takes work. But that's what I'm trying to tell you. It is your. There's never a situation. Me and Michael had this debate for a while when he said that all of the presidents had been involved in wartime experiences, and I said all or none are two dynamics that is not possible to be consistent for any argument or debate. Is too broad of a spectrum of generalization. The all or nothing, all in or all out type of thinking has to stop. We must recognize that conditionally certain things are unacceptable to us and conditionally certain things are acceptable to us, which ultimately means that we're not going to say as higher value men that all women are trash, but we will recognize that the women that qualify as trash is the women that we're not trying to talk to. All the women that don't meet the trash qualifications are not trash, and we're going to try to see what we can build with the women that are not trash. Likewise, women should be able to recognize that all men aren't bad. And at the end of the day, that out of the men that carry the negative traits of a man, we will no longer affiliate with those men and only provide time and space for the men that exemplify positive male behavior patterns, or not even gender specific, but positive behavior patterns that benefits my objectives and my behaviors, which actually redefines the way you think. It's not about all men ain't shit or all women are trash. It is just, I'm not going to affiliate myself with low grade behavior. Doesn't matter if it's a man or a woman. Now I just have to define what low grade behavior looks like so that I can avoid that. Is that first rule in life? Don't entertain whiners. Well, that shouldn't be the first rule in life. The first rule in life is supposed to be to respect yourself and hold yourself to a higher level of integrity. Then you're supposed to follow the second rule that I tell you guys on a regular basis, is to hold other people accountable to the same standards that you're willing to hold yourself. So never expect from someone else what you're not willing to do yourself, right? And technically, you're supposed to expect less from people than what you're willing to do, not what you're capable of, what you're willing to do. So if I'm not willing to pick that shit up, I'm not going to make it somebody else's job to pick that shit up. But if somebody else is willing to pick it up, hey, I'll pay you. And I ain't doing it. He says conflicts or war, every president has been at war. Nope, you're wrong. I've already disproven you on that. We actually come to find out, because just where you were wrong on that Michael, you actually pointed out that there was a 5-year stretch during a recession where we had no conflict and no war, and there was at least one, if not two, presidents involved in that. So we've already proven that you were wrong about that, Michael. You have one day to grieve, then never bring it up again. Like I tell people, just drop it. Well, I'm not going to say that emotional separation from a traumatic experience should be limited to one day, but telling me about it should be limited to one time. You got a problem, I'm willing to listen. The first time the problem arises, I'm willing to listen. If you're still going through the same problem next week that you was going through last week, and I ask you what's up, you should only be able to tell me I'm still going through it. You should not have to rewind about the same thing that you talked to me about 2 weeks ago. If you will have an ongoing problem, you should not take every moment with me to tell me about your ongoing problem. I don't watch As the World Turns. I don't watch Murder, She Wrote. I don't care about Bad Girls Club. I am not looking at the Real Wives of New York. I don't do drama. So if you got drama going on and you tell me that you still going through some drama, I understand. You don't got to go into details. You told me about it before, you know. But it does take it. Detachment takes twice as long as attachment. Therefore, if you were in a committed long-term scenario for 6 months, psychologically and emotionally, it should take you a year to 2 years to get over that. So there isn't a scenario where you can say, "Oh well, one day and you're done." No, one day and you stop bringing that shit to me. You can be going through it for another year. You just don't talk to me about it. Talk to your therapist. Expectations are future resentments. The ignoring expectations becomes the development of future resentment. So I do agree with you on that, Stephen. The understanding is that if I say for example, simple shit. I don't like smokers. I don't like tattoos. I don't like septum piercings. Stuff to that effect, right? Let's just throw that out there, right? Let's say that that's some stuff that like gets on my irking nerves, right? Now, find a hot chick. She got tattoos all over the place, piercings all over the place. She smokes like a night train, but the sex is good, right? I ignore all the things I don't like. Never tell her anything about the things I don't like. Some of those things she kind of can't change because those tattoos are semi-permanent. You know what I mean? The fact is that knowing that what's going on I don't like. When I am no longer overwhelmed with the emotional observations of the good sex, I start paying attention to the fact that I'm not attracted to all them tattoos. I'm not attracted to that septum piercing, and that damn smoking is giving me a sinus infection. What's going to end up happening is now that I'm 3, 6, 9 months committed to the good sex, at the end of the day, now I'm looking for the woman without the tattoo. I'm looking for the woman that doesn't smoke like a night train. I'm looking for the woman that doesn't have the septum piercing when I should have said that these things are deal breakers for me, because while it is not a failure on your part or it does not define your value as a human being, it is something that will piss me off in 5 to 10 years. And I don't want you to go through a long-term committed situation with me where I'm going to walk away from you for those 3 things. That's what people don't do. For example, men who want children, women who aren't ready to be mothers. You shouldn't be dating, because 60% of men want to be a father. Therefore, if you're not willing to give birth to the guy that you're talking to on the first date, you should not be on a second or third. Women are going to say, "Oh, well, how should I commit to that? How can I commit to childbearing on the first date?" You don't. You just make it clear on the first 2, 3 dates that I'm not looking to have kids. So if you are, then we can't go any further. When you change your mind and you decide that you want to start being a mother at 38 years old, if you got some eggs on a shelf and you got a man that wants to give it a try, then you can start giving it a try. But if you're 25, 27, 29 years old and you're capable of having kids but you don't want to, and the talking to is 38, 41, he wants kids, it's your responsibility to say, "Look, we're not even going to see where this goes." But a lot of women say, "Well, the commitment is there, the financial stability is there. Let's not talk about it now and see where things go. I'm not interested in it now, but I might be interested in it later." See what I'm saying? That's what we're talking about. Michael said, I can't see you, P8010. See, now P8010 might be the guy that dove in yesterday. And that's why I can't see him on the screen. I told y'all somebody was going to come in tonight. Michael says, most things in life are truly not dramatic, but get blown out of proportion. You are right, Michael. They do get blown out of proportion. You said, hold up. Yeah, calm down. You said, then you don't marry her. No, you're right. You don't marry her, but you don't take her on a second or third date either. You don't go nowhere with her after that. If you recognize that she doesn't meet your expectations from day one, you don't go there. Women who want a guy who's not broke, all right, fine. That's going to be your standard. If you want to be a guy be with a guy that's not broke, and you are going to start off with what's your income status level, because I don't date broke dudes. Motherfucker's going to walk away even if he's not broke, because I don't want to be defined by my income. Women who say they don't want to date short men while wearing heels, fine. You're not dating a guy that's 5'6". As soon as you say that your preferred height, it doesn't matter if you're okay with me. Your preferred height is 6'1". As soon as you say that your preferred height is 6'1", and I am by far not 6'1", I'm not even going to continue the conversation. I'm going to walk out the door, because what's going to happen is, while you might accept me for the way I treat you and the money that I spend right now, eventually you're not going to like the fact that you got to look down at me, because when you're wearing heels, you're 3 or 4 inches taller than me. You're going to eventually find yourself having a guy that's 6 or 7 inches taller than me hit on you. You're going to leave me for that guy. Why? Because you don't like shorter dudes. It is what it is. So you got to recognize, if that was your expectation out the gate, then I see Peyton. Hopefully Peyton is positive. Then in that dynamic, that's going to be one of those situations where we're like, no, at the beginning, we're just not going to get into that. Let's see Peyton. How you doing, Peyton?
You had the wrong thing, brother.
Can you hear me, Peyton?
Yes, you added the wrong thing.
Have the wrong thing?
Yeah, add P810.
No, I got you. I got you. So you can talk to me. What's going on?
Okay. I can't even see you like that though on here.
But everybody can see you.
No, I want to see you though, brother. I really can't. Like, I don't like this app just because I can't see you.
YouTube got it wild right now, because they've got you're on the shorts reel, but there's a long form version that has this on a 16:9 where we're actually side by side right now. But because you're on the shorts reel, like I'm on top of you, no Diddy. But
what I do?
like everybody,
No, yeah, I feel that, because I would obviously be on you. But like, what do I do to like actually see what you're saying? You feel me?
To see what I'm saying, like the text messages in the comment section or whatever.
Yes.
Oh, well, the text messages are in a drop down. So you got to click the drop down in order to see the text that are coming up. But if you're trying to see me personally while you're live on the show, you would probably, if your cell phone is doing it a certain way where it's only showing you who's talking at the moment, you would probably have to switch to the 16:9 or turn your phone sideways. It might automatically flip you to the 16:9.
Smartass. You're being a smartass. You are being genuinely a smartass. Okay.
Well, I'm actually supposed to be highly intellectual. So what part about being a smartass about helping you with your screen, or about the topic in general?
How old are you? 42.
41. What's your point?
You're 41. Oh my God. So I was close.
Okay.
Okay. When's the last time you had a woman? Like, when's the last time you had a girlfriend? Let's be honest.
I don't understand what's your point, sir. Can you make your point, please? Because at the end, because I brought you on because I was hoping that you.
I'm not making any points. When's the last time you had a girlfriend?
Well, what point do you have? Because what we're talking about right now is the misandering behavior patterns.
Hey, brother, shut the fuck up. I have no point. When's the last time you had a girlfriend?
Oh, you don't have a point. Well, then I appreciate you coming to the show, sir. We actually would prefer for you to have a point. Now, I mean, at the end of the day, if you're going to come to the show with an articulable presentation, like you're going to make a point somewhere, you had a comment that you wanted to say, like whatever you wanted to say, go ahead and say that. But I mean, when you come onto the show and you start being negative, at the end of the day, bro, that I can only let so much recklessness slide by. I'm more than willing to allow individuals to entertain themselves onto the show, and within reason, providing community guidelines that individuals communicate in a healthy fashion. But you have to understand, hate speech even means like directly insulting my integrity as a human being, specifically because you don't like me as a person, when you have absolutely nothing to refute the facts that I put up here on the show. That's my point. Michael said, so first, let me go back to Steven, because Steven said tattoos can never be a deal breaker for me because I have ink all over my body, but smokers are a no-go. So with the smoker situation, you can understand what I'm saying. And Michael says, tats okay, smokers no, 420 okay. Rick, special shout out to Rick. He said, a lot of wealthy men are attracted to women who have high standards. That is true. That is very true. And you do realize though, but so the women that have high standards for the wealthy men, those wealthy men actually meet those standards. Now, the question is, do those women actually meet the standards that the men have? Is women love short guys? They should. Lower the camera. It ain't my camera. It's his. It's his at the end of the day. He said, I see both. Yeah, I know you can see both of us. See, he was one of those people, he was going to put up something inappropriate on his other screen, and that's why he wanted me to go to the other screen. He didn't have any questions. He was being inappropriate. Well, I'm not going to go down that path, Michael. He said, I thought I was getting hated on. No, you were not getting hated on, because at no point, my guy, was I talking about men being bad men. Yeah, I did. He said, you blocked me. Yes, sir, I did. You were being disrespectful on the show. And I was just about to tell everybody I had no beef with you, because I wasn't even talking about you. We were actually talking about good women versus being compromised by societal norms. And we were talking about how making bad decisions by allowing the wrong people in our lives corrupt our decision-making skills, because the trauma from negative relationships leads us to behave negatively in future relationships. And when you dove in, we were sitting over here having a discussion about misandry, and we were talking about the mentality of women hating men just because they're men, not because men did them anything, compromises a woman's ability to bond with a good man, because they're psychologically conditioned to hate all men, which prevents them from finding the right man. Now, this actually works both ways, because men who don't like women just because they're women will have a problem with finding the right woman, because they believe that all women are trash. They believe that all women are gold diggers. They might believe that all women are 3 or 4s. But at the end of the day, if you treat all women the same way, instead of saying that certain behavior patterns I don't deal with, and those behavior patterns, if I see that in you, I'm not gonna stay here just because the sex is good. I'm not gonna stay here just because the money is right. I'm going to change my interactions with other people and build a network of people that I tolerate, of people that I approve of. That's a universal decision making. So there was no reason for me to, at any point in time, bro, because you said, well, you thought that I was getting hated on. Like, you said that you thought that you was getting hated on. How are you getting hated on? Because you're not a woman. Michael says, money attracts beauty. It does. Is it? I think he has the camera on his phone backwards. He could have. His camera could have been pointing at the den. It doesn't matter to me. What mattered to me is that when he did come up on the show, that he got loose with his words, and I blocked him before he did too much. Because I'm tired. I haven't edited too much of nothing, but the jackass from yesterday got edited before the show got permanent. The show didn't spend 12 hours before I was like, nope, let me go ahead and trim this area. If you go back and watch yesterday's show, that I think 3 minutes of that dude on the air, that's gone already. I wouldn't cut that shit out. I'm not putting up with negative behavior. You guys can click the link, approve the mic, approve the camera. You guys can come onto the show, and you guys can articulate appropriately and professionally. You guys don't have to agree with what I have to say. You can completely disagree with what I have to say. And I was going to let this dude disagree with me. But at the end of the day, he had no point. He made it clear multiple times he had no point, but he continued to degrade and devalue me. And at that point, I'm like, well, fuck that. I'm not dealing with that shit. So y'all let this be a behavior pattern, because this is a highly interactive podcast. When you come, if you disagree, what facts do you have that causes you to disagree? Or what emotional influences that causes you to disagree? I'm completely okay with your emotional influences that causes you to disagree, because your opinions is your opinions. My opinions are based on facts. My opinions are backed by facts. You can Google my shit. You can ask the Google lady. So if you don't agree with what I got to say, I completely respect that. But you're not going to find facts that contradict the information that I provide. So you cannot like what I'm delivering, and I completely respect that. But you can't devalue me as a person because I'm delivering the message. That's where I draw the line. That's part of the YouTube community guidelines. You just can't do that. Now, when you're building a parallel project to offset these situations, you want respect for women that includes you, and you want to have respect for men as well. So every minute that you spend stewing in contempt for men is going to be a minute that you're not spending on building respect and compassion for women, including yourself, or building respect and compassion for men as well. A deliberate rebalancing practice is going to be required. So for every conversation or piece of content that you consume, critiquing men, consume one that celebrates women's resilience, creativity, and solidarity. You want to critique some videos and observe some videos where men are behaving and carrying themselves in an appropriate fashion, right? So for the lonely good girl, this is going to mean investing in female friendships, creating creative workspaces, and self-development that are not organized around reacting to all men at all. And as her life becomes richer and more self-directed, both misandry and internalized misogyny has less fuel against her behavior patterns. Now, the net effect on dating when this is addressed, you find that when the cocktail of internalized misogyny and the feminist flavored misandry starts to clear, so several upgrades become possible because she can see the red flags in men clearly without automatically concluding that she's a fool for missing these flags beforehand. She can stay feminist and critical of patriarchy while still being open to a real tenderness and partnership with a specific man that meets her needs. She can stop measuring her intelligence by how harshly she talks about men and start measuring it by how well she protects her time, body, and heart. That's the part of the misogyny, the misandry that we were supposed to be covering on the show. So when we circle back to the bigger picture, healing is going to accelerate when you're in spaces where your needs aren't shamed and where you witness other women choosing themselves over the patriarchal expectations. You want to cultivate your female friendships. They aren't a consolidation prize. They are the bedrock of your sanity and your strength. But you want to find positive women, not a group of women that hate men from their past traumas. So when a friend says, no, you're not crazy for feeling that way, it acts as an external anchor for your own reality, strengthening your ability to trust yourself. Because it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a network of positive individuals to motivate you to function in a positive fashion. Once you have that basic observations down, you might want to try some more experimental strategies to really break the conditioning. Think of these as pattern interruptions for your psyche. First, try a temporary dating detox for performance for a month or maybe even a year, depending on how long you've been going through some trauma. Stop trying to be a version of yourself that you think men will reward. This is an experiment in authenticity. Instead of dressing for the attractiveness of men, dress for your own comfort, not the male gaze. So instead of the scantily clad attire, you want to dress for your own comfort, right? Don't apologize for taking up space. Just notice what happens when you be your natural self. The point is to discover who you are when the fear of being judged is temporarily suspended, right? Second, you want to implement the reverse pick me rule, because for a set period, if you make a vow not to bond with a man by putting other women down, if a date starts complaining about his crazy ex, don't join in on that. Respond with neutral curiosity. That sounds like it was a difficult experience for you, or just disengage. This forces you to build connections on a more solid ground instead of on toxic grounds. Third, if you tend to underreact to disrespect, try a temporary overcorrection of your standards. For the next 3 months, decide to end an interaction at the first sign of repeat disrespect. Too late arrivals with flimsy excuses, you're out. not as a punishment, but as an experiment in valuing your time. I'm not going to continue to allow people to disrespect me on my live podcast. I get disrespected. It's like, that's all right. Go sit down somewhere. Right? Man, look at this with the lag thing. We're going to have to reboot the browsers after tonight's show. Now, the point of this overcorrection is to recalibrate your internal compass. So by swinging the pendulum hard in the other direction, you can reset your baseline for what acceptable treatment feels like. You have to remember that you are the most important person or thing to you. So your standards and expectations must come first. You must first improve your own standards and then hold everybody else around you to those standards. Anybody who doesn't meet those standards, it doesn't matter how cute they are, how handsome they are, how attractive they are. It doesn't matter how much they spend on you or how little space they take up. It doesn't matter what's going on. If they don't meet your standards, whatever those standards are, your standards are valid. Your standards are reasonable. Your standards might not be the same standards as the person standing next to you, but your standards dictates who takes up your time. And if they do not meet your standards, you will not expel time for those lower grade standards. Now it's not just, oh, well, all men ain't shit or all women are gold diggers. Now it is, I don't tolerate X, Y, and Z behavior. That's what I'm seeing right now. And that is why I'm leaving. Plain and simple. Now, finally, you want to consider doing a motherline audit. Reflect on the women in your family, your mother, your grandmothers, your aunties, the women in your life that took care of you, your older sister, whatever. What did they teach you about love, duty, and silence with both their words as well as their actions? Not just how they treated you, but how they interacted with men. What did they endure to keep the peace? Write it all down without judgment. Then concisely decide what parts of that legacy that you want to keep and what parts of that legacy you are ready to lovingly release. Now, this isn't about blaming them. It's about recognizing that you have different choices available to you than what they did, and it is your right to choose differently if their path isn't leading where you want it to go. This works in deep and ongoing fashions. It's a process of coming home to yourself. If this conversation is resonating, if this information is sinking into you guys, if a lot of you are thinking, man, I ain't never heard about it like this, I want you guys to go a lot deeper. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel. Make sure that you like this show. Make sure that you share this with somebody that you know needs it, and then go and double check the membership, because we're going to be exploring every facet of this journey together. And I want to hear from you guys. I want you guys to go to the comment section and share one good girl rule that you are ready to break. Ladies, one good guy rule that you are ready to break. Fellas, because this happens on both sides of the fence. It doesn't just happen to the women, right? A lot of men have become excessively submissive to the women, specifically because good guys finish last. The overly catering, the minimalist behaviors, the stuff that women do to be conceived as a good person is the same thing that men do. The only difference is that women shame themselves for it and men are shamed by society for it. It's just two different things. Men are called simps for the exact same good girl behavior that I was talking to you guys about that women have to experience. It's the same dynamic across the board. It's just that men deal with it differently. By sharing our stories, we break the isolation that keeps this system in place. And your story could be the permission slip someone else needs to start their own journey. So when you commit to this work, your dating life is going to change. It might get harder before it gets easier. You're likely going to feel more anger and grief as you start to fully acknowledge the ways that you've been silenced and have silenced yourself, which means that you've been silenced by society, your friends, your sisterhood, or other people in your society, versus when you silence yourself for how you think other people believe you should behave. You got to remember that. But on the other side of that is a freedom that you can't currently imagine. Healing doesn't mean that you become less sensitive. It means that you become more self-trusting. You will learn to trust your discomfort sooner. That feeling of anxiety in your stomach on a date, you'll learn to get curious about it. Instead of automatically labeling it chemistry, you'll learn to ask if it's excitement or if it is your nervous system flagging that something feels off. Because the butterflies in your stomach might not be the feeling of love, it might be anxiety, which is a low-grade fear of what your pure instinct tells you is a threat to your safety. It's not always a red flag about the other person. Anxiety is a normal part of dating and can reflect our own past fears, which could be misguided fears based off of similar but inaccurate experiences, where what we think could happen is not what's actually going down right now, but we fear what already happened, right? Don't want to go through that again. But you're going to learn to trust your ability to tell the difference between excitement and fear. You'll begin to see other women not as your competition, but as your allies. You'll learn to ask for clarity without a whisper of shame, because you'll understand that you deserve to know what you're investing your heart in. You will leave situations that lack respect more quickly, not with drama, but with the quiet dignity of a woman who knows her own value. You'll become less dependent on being chosen because you will be so busy choosing yourself. You will finally understand that your standards are not a wall to keep love out, but a foundation upon which to build a love that is real, reciprocal, and lasting, which is one of the things that we talk about. It's the long-term permanent relationships that not a lot of people are able to get into, but all people long for. The goal is not to become a bad girl. Nobody likes that. It's to transcend the suffocating dichotomy of good and bad altogether. It's to become a whole woman, a woman who is kind and has firm boundaries, non-negotiable expectations for behavior, a woman who is forgiving and holds people accountable. Similarly, a woman who is accommodating when she chooses to be and uncompromising when it comes to her own soul. The love that you are seeking, the love that sees you, honors you, and meets you in your wholeness is the only possible outcome when you are willing to offer that wholeness to yourself first. Because as we always say, how can you expect somebody to love you when you don't love yourself? That work, that is the work that you're trying to do. And it's going to be the most worthy work that you'll ever be able to do. Now, ladies, that's all I got for y'all for tonight. I'm going to start by saying, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking you ladies to make it make sense. So ladies, please make it make sense. Fellas, I give y'all this information to make you guys higher value men, because just like I gave this information to the women, if you guys find the things, you guys and girls, find the things in your life inside of your control that you don't like, and you proactively make changes to improve that, you then have the capabilities of navigating around the things that you have no control over. This allows you to improve your life. Not everything is going to be perfect, but you should not allow the things around you that you do not tolerate to continue lingering around you. You must proactively remove yourself or remove those external things from the impacts of your life. Now, ladies, while this is a male-driven podcast from the male's perspective, you too can make yourselves higher value women by taking this information and utilizing it, working on your 20 and 30-year goals, reverse engineering that information to be able to figure out what you need to do today and proactively maintain the virtue of accommodating and accomplishing those goals. Ladies, if you keep your eyes and ears open for potential suitors, those individuals with the right character, personality, drive, ambition, integrity, admiration, motivation, determination, the goals that more than likely will mesh well with your goals, those are the individuals that you partner with. Those are the people where the two of y'all can get together and accomplish everything faster. Two people can get to $1 million faster than one if you both have the long-term drive for future satisfaction instead of the short-term gratification. Because if one of you's wasting the money, y'all not gonna make it. But if y'all are both working towards long-term success, you will make it, and it'll be a lot easier for the both of y'all. But it requires y'all to prioritize your future while enjoying your present. Now, special shout out to Michael, special shout out to Steven. I appreciate y'all. Rick, dropping positive comments into the comment section. FX Trader, long standing. FX Trader been here for almost a year. Special shout out to Bruce. I really appreciate y'all for putting the positive information into the comment section. I really thank you guys for coming to tonight's show. So for the rest of y'all, we're going to be here every night of the week. Saturday, we got some decent topics coming up. I'm going to make sure that the script is ready for y'all this time. But I want y'all to make sure that y'all double check, because between tonight and tomorrow, we're going to have Monday up there, Monday for this week, and Tuesday or Wednesday for next week is going to be up there. So make sure that y'all double check. The rest of the show, hit the notification buttons for all of the upcoming shows, at least for the next 10 to 15 days. And then also, if you haven't gotten into the membership, keep your eyes peeled for the membership, because there's a lot of new information going into the membership. I want to thank you guys one last time for coming to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. And I will see you guys tomorrow night.
Higher ground. Used to chase validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting down upon the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher, constantly making my own climb. Standing on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command.